Scoot closer.
Yeah, that looks good. All right, welcome to Competing in Cornfields. I'm here with Tyler Panko. So Tyler, how's working down in Wichita?
It's good. So I moved from Columbia, Missouri this past summer. I was doing a preceptorship after school. It was at my last semester in school, so I was there this summer, and I graduated in August from Cleveland Chiropractic in Kansas City, and then took a job in Wichita. It's different. It's a different city from what I've lived in, because I lived in Lincoln for 5 years for college. Grew up in a small town, Decatur, Nebraska, just north of Omaha. And then I lived in Kansas City for 4 years. So it's different in that it's like a big small town, but it's actually a fairly large city. But I really like the people, and getting to work with like a more active community with my job is very rewarding, and just kind of gaining my ground there. Yeah.
So they kind of like a bigger but comparable to Lincoln. Like, would you compare them to?
Yeah, because it's very weird because Wichita State is there, so you would think it'd be more of a college town, but it's not at all. Like Wichita State is very much a commuter school, so like it's not as active a campus, I would say. So it's not very much of a college town. So it's a big mix of like. There's some big industries there. It's like the Koch brothers. Koch Industries is there. Cargill is very big there. So it's a good community. I wouldn't say it's similar to Lincoln, but it's just like Midwest people. The people are great down there. Very nice. And I think like Wichita has gotten a bad rap in the past for being kind of like a boring city. But ever since like I've known Wichita and like spent some time there. There's some people. There definitely is money there. It's just kind of hidden. So there's people that are trying to make like the people that do have money kind of spend it more on the community, and you can see the rumblings of that trying to slowly build up. And I think the next 5 years, like we'll see Wichita like become a lot more prevalent, just on a national scale. But then local scale, I think we'll see like more people trying to get involved in the community.
Oh. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, like, what all services and do you provide at your clinic office?
Yeah. So that's a big thing with our clinic. We try to make sure, like my boss says all the time, like we're a jack of all trades. Like we want to be good at everything we do. Like each of our doctors, I think, has different things that they're very good at. So we can kind of go into that. But yeah, we offer the traditional chiropractic services. So it's called ICT, muscle and joint. So we offer, we're all chiros. We offer the chiropractic services, so the adjustments. Then we do a lot of rehab based. So we go after more of the active community, and we want people to be active. So even if you do come in, like we're still going to push exercise on you, and being more active, because we know that's going to be the thing that's going to help you in the long run, so that you're not coming into our office 3 times a week for the rest of your life. We never want that. Like we want to provide best care, but then give you tools that you can do at home, that can basically treat yourself and like treat your own injuries in the future. So we offer dry needling, rehab services. So like a lot of our rehab is based off of dynamic neuromuscular stabilization, or DNS, which is out of the Prague, Czech Republic. So that's basically taken them back to like developmental movement patterns. And so as we develop, like we see that like as long as you have proper brain development, like you will have the movement patterns that are very similar at the same amount of time, which is fascinating. Across the world, all the babies across the world will do this. So we know that like humans have an ingrained pattern of how we're supposed to move. So if we see that you have, usually if like you come in, you have an injury like that's non-traumatic, like we know there's probably a movement pattern going on that's not right. Or, I mean, you can't have overtraining, but I mean, like a lot of times, like we can break that down and go back to just developing your movement patterns in a proper way. So that we do that. Then we do cupping, scraping, so instrument assisted soft tissue manipulation, maybe forgetting some here, We do a lot of like McKenzie diagnosis. That's based off of like, it's referred to a lot with like disc injuries, so radiating pain. But people don't know like it can be used for extremity stuff. So basically it's going back to if there's like a movement pattern that we know can cause the pain, so like sitting, flexion, a lot of the time we know there's probably a pattern the other way that can help relieve pain. So it's very powerful because then going back to it, like we give people a way to treat their own injuries at home through exercise. So then if they're like, oh, I can treat my pain like on my own, well, what else can I do? So then we can build on top of that of giving them injuries that can help keep this, giving them exercises that can help keep the pain away. Yeah.
So you mentioned like the scraping.
Yeah.
Is that what do you think about deep tissue massage?
I guess I go back and forth on that. If it think that it helps, then I'm all for it. Like, go ahead, get a massage. But I don't want people to get the idea that we're breaking up knots, like, because we're not. Like, foam rolling, like very deep tissue massage, like where they've shown through research that it takes, I don't know the exact number, but it takes like millions of pounds of pressure to break up like a adhesion. So it's like, unless you're getting run over by like a dump truck, like it's not gonna, you're not breaking up like adhesions. So, but if they think it helps and like they get relaxation from it, go for it. But like anything, like you shouldn't be like sore after a workout for multiple days, because like it's not the idea of a workout. And like same thing, if you're getting a deep tissue massage and you're sore for multiple days, it's probably not good. Like,
right.
So, but if you think it's relaxing and it adds value to your recovery, then go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you also do the dry needling?
Yeah.
I don't know. I find that kind of interesting, and that is legitimate, you think?
Yes, it is. Like we see very good results with it. So like people always ask like, what's the difference between acupuncture and dry needling? And whereas like acupuncture, it's more based off of like Western medicine. So we're going off like meridians and like chi and like energy kind of things. Like, and we've taken courses in it because we had to get like our certificates for dry needling. It's a thing that I think is useful, but it's also a thing you have to do your research. You have to study it for a long time to really understand what's going on. So like I don't have that amount of time, and right now I don't really have any interest to like, I guess, go down to that field. But we use the same needles as acupuncture, but acupuncture, you don't go very deep with like the needle, whereas dry needling, it's based off trigger point. And like a trigger point is like a tight band in a muscle that you'll feel. It'll feel like a little tiny bead. Usually like people will come in like, oh, I have like these knots in my shoulder. Like, what you're usually feeling is a trigger point. And like you can have trigger points that if you feel it, like you might feel like it'll refer pain somewhere else. So if you press on it, or if you get headaches, like say like your trap, you might feel it like behind your ear or like on the side of your head or something like that. And I'll press on it and like, oh, I can feel that behind your ear. So a trigger point like gets laid down when like a tissue is getting overused, so the brain will lay it down for stability. Or let's say like you have an improper movement pattern, like the brain doesn't feel safe, it'll lay down like a trigger point to shorten that tissue so that it doesn't get, I guess, more cause to the injury, I guess. So we take a needle and go into that trigger point, and it releases those chemicals that are built up into that trigger point, and then releases pain, increases range of motion, and like patients usually like feel better. A lot of people ask like, well, does it hurt? And that kind of depends. Like you might feel like a little zing at first when you hit that trigger point because it's releasing those chemicals and they're electrically charged. But other than that, like it's usually not painful. More painful areas are like the calves can be painful and the feet can be painful, but usually like other areas, like people usually don't feel too much.
Nice.
Yeah.
So would you recommend somebody just to go get dry needled, or would it be more of like a reactive?
Yeah. I mean, like I just had a patient this last week that just came and get needling, and she was having complaints in her entire back. So like, I usually don't recommend that. Like, but she just wanted to pay for the needling, so like I didn't push too much on it. But usually with those issues, it's gonna be just something that we do to speed up results. So like but the first like main thing that we're going to push is like the exercise and stuff like that that's going to actually keep things along from the long term. The needling is just going to help like speed up the process and speed up like the tissue healing process of it.
So which, like, out of, all like the services and things that you all provide, do you think that you specialize in any, or any that you might like the best?
Yeah, I really like the McKenzie method. So it's called McKenzie method or mechanical diagnosis therapy. I kind of explained that again. It's based off repetitive movement. So like, it's really cool if people come in like they have such like bad like disc injuries, like a disc herniation or something like that, and they have pain radiating down their legs where they can barely walk or something like that. Like you give them a common one is like a cobra pose or like a prone press up. So where like you're lying flat on your belly and you do a press up, like taking your back into extension. You give them like a couple sets of that and they get up and like they're already 60% better and they're walking and they're like they have no pain down their legs anymore. And it's like, wow. And like they've been to multiple surgeons, they've been to multiple doctors and gotten no relief. And like you do that within, let's say, like 10 minutes of giving them that and they're already so much better. So it's super powerful. And like it's not, like I said, it's not just for back. Like we see like shoulder stuff, like you do a repetitive movement with shoulders and we increase range of motion by like 50% within minutes. And same thing with kind of any joint in the body. Like you can go down to the ankles, the knees, the hips. Like it's powerful stuff that happens with that. So that'd probably be my favorite because like we see the quickest results and like we see like the most powerful stories out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Movements, the answer for probably most of those.
It is. Honestly, it is. Like, we say, like, one of my favorite quotes is movement is medicine because it really is. Like, I like all the modalities. Like, I like adjusting and I like dry needling and cupping because they get, like, some relief with it. But, like, you get the most powerful results when, like, you tell people, like, to be like more self-reliant and self-efficacy. Like my biggest thing, and like when they can be part of like their own story, like and be a part of their treatment plan, like I think it gives them more buyback and makes them better in the long run. Whereas like there's all types of chiro, and not that I bash on them, but if like you're constantly relying on adjustments or like the modalities that we do, then like I guess not only does it more money out of their pocket, but then they become reliant on somebody else, and I never want that to happen for anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, you kind of alluded to it a little bit. So, what is I don't know, what's like your preferred like doctor pronoun, or what do you prefer to?
Yeah, it's on? Weird. Because like one of the other doctors and I, we were talking about this, like. It's still hard to get used to, like being called doctor. So I mean, like right now they call a lot of people say like Dr. Tyler, which I've really never been called Tyler my entire life. It's always been Panko, my last name. All my friends just call me Panko, so it's hard to get used to. But I would say like if I had to put a title, like I'd like to be called like a chiropractic physician, just because like. If you just call me a chiropractor, I think that gets a bad kind of connotation, and that's just from the like media and like our profession. But because like we do more than like I think people realize, and like evaluating like all scales of musculoskeletal health. So I like to say physician because I think like we can be a triage to refer out for a lot of many things. So I like chiropractic physician. Movement specialist is also good.
Yeah. No, those sound good.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Do you ever? I know like you just like explained that like you do more than just like adjustments and things like that. Do you have to end up explaining that a good bit to people?
Yeah. Just with our name, like we're ICT muscle and joint, so we don't have chiropractic in our name. Oh. We get a lot that like, are we physical therapists or are we chiropractors? And like, does it really matter at the end of the day? Like, I'm treating your pain. Like, as long as you get results, like, I think that's all that matters. And like I heard this at a seminar one time, and it's like they shouldn't, if you're a great like doctor, they shouldn't be able to tell the difference. Like if you walk into a PT or you walk into chiro, they should not be able to tell the difference if you're a good doctor. And I've always taken that to heart. So I love like chiropractors and I love physical therapists, and I think in the future, I think it's going to become one thing. Like, because like we see in schools right now, like different schools are getting taught like how to manipulate. So obviously not to the extent that we do in chiro school, but they can go to, you know, a bunch of seminars and learn how to manipulate and become just as good as us. So like the chiro is trying to fight that, like we need to keep this, like I think just stay like on your lane, like it's gonna be all fine. But I think in the future, like it's gonna become like all one thing.
So you know, maybe some of the like really old school chiropractors who aren't like learning the new stuff, and just like the internet in general, like I feel like there's a ton of bad information on you know what you need to do. Like I've seen people with who have back problems at work. And then they like immediately, she's like, okay, I'm gonna need you to order me an ergonomic chair and a stand-up desk right away. Still complain about their back hurting all the time. And then I told them, like, do like the little baby cobras. And do like a couple cat cows and do some things like that. And they're like, no, I need all this. I need to spend all this money. So I don't know, like, is there any bad information that you like that you feel like you run into a lot with, you know, people?
And I don't know where it necessarily comes from, and it's been like this for, you know, always been like this, but people come in like, I'm in pain, I have really bad posture, and like stuff like that, or, I need to stretch more. Like, it's not necessarily the answer, because it's like the most, if we go on like the posture bit, like they've done research and like they still haven't said that posture causes pain. I think there is like a certain amount of like posture does matter, but I think it's more including more movement variety. So going from like a sitting to a standing desk is not going to be the answer, because like you're just going back to one static posture yet again. I mean, like having a desk that's more, if you have to be at a desk 8 hours a day, then I do say I think have a desk that's more that you can like interchange, so that you can go from standing, you go from sitting, you can lie on the floor if you want to, like, and like still work on your computer. But if you can't do that and it's like you're in a cubicle, then getting up at least, I would think like every half hour and doing some type, if it's just standing up and doing like a back bend or something like that, or some rotations. But at minimum, every 50 minutes, I think you should be getting up and taking a walk, doing some type of variation. It doesn't have to be stretching, but just moving around. That's going to help like your pain, because like you're not meant to constantly think about your posture. Like doesn't work like that. And like using, like we have out of the McKenzie method, like we do have a lumbar roll that can help you sit more upright, but like we're just not meant to sit like in a military posture with like constant tension on us. Like, so there's not one bad posture. The best posture is going to be your next posture. So including like more movement variety, and like, I guess like most people don't express their joints through full ranges of motion like ever. So like doing more of that stuff, so that's in the gym or doing more mobility work. Like, you know, if you go back to our like primitive state, like they used to do a lot more hanging and stuff like that, and like being able to, I guess, like squat fully, like, so like they used to have this in their daily routine just from like a hunter-gatherer aspect. So including more movement variety, I guess, is the solution. And then like the stretching bit, the common answer I say, like if you go back to like the hamstrings, I'm like, well, how has stretching your hamstrings worked in the past? And like they always say, well, it'll help for a little bit, then they'll be tight the next day. And probably 75% of people, like I'll do a range of motion test and they have perfect range of motion in their hamstrings. And it's like, well, then is stretching going to be the answer? They still feel tight. So then it's, I guess, going back to stretching is not always the answer. Then it's more like is it strength and stability component that's coming from where else in the body, is why is that hamstring feeling tight? Because I think just including more movement variety and getting more people to do strength training the right way, that would eliminate the need to constantly have like this stretching, I guess, would help.
Yeah. And like, I'm obviously like not a doctor or anything, but whenever I see like people, I don't know, who do have like back problems or like hamstring problems, like they're always going ahead with their like a forward fold, you know, and like we already do that like too much, right? Yeah. And so we that's not the move. Maybe like the opposite move. So like if your hamstrings are really tight, sometimes maybe you have a problem with your quads.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know.
Maybe. I wouldn't say it's more like a muscle issue, but I think people don't like really understand. I think like that recovery from like your workout starts in the actual workout. So like the biggest thing I see in the gym is like people using way too much weight, or like going way too fast through when they're doing their exercise. So like, not that like speed work with some weights isn't useful, but like being able to like control the range of motion of like the weight you're using. So if like you're using a weight and like you can't control it through like, let's say like a 3-second lowering, if you're going to do like a dumbbell reverse deadlift. So if you can't control that weight like for a 5-second eccentric, then you're using way too much weight. You should be able to control that and use like good ranges of motion. And like going back to the stretching component, if you're able to control that through the full ranges of motion, then like technically that is the stretch, but you're also strengthening in that end range of motion. So if you're strengthening that end range of motion, then like that muscle is going to be able to adapt, and then you won't feel like they're tight all the time. So yeah, just going back to that, like it's not really a balance issue. If you're having, if you do have like a good workout program and you have a plan that's balanced, then I don't think it's more that you need to like use your quads more or anything like that. It's just going back to having good form in your workouts is important for that. And it'll help fix a lot of issues as far as like injuries. I think if you look at more, that recovery starts in the workout.
Yeah. So I guess along with that, do you have like a favorite recovery tip or method?
Yeah, because I think, and I was just listening to something the other day about this. Yeah, I think like looking at your workout as like it's recovering is starting, and then using good form, not overdoing it, and then I think right when your workout stops is when recovery is also the biggest thing. So like going and doing some like parasympathetic breathing. So like if you want to say belly breathing or diaphragmatic breathing, whatever it is, like doing some like 3 minutes of that like after your workout can get you out of that flight or fight mode. So like you're getting your heart rate down so that you can like get those tissues to start recovering right away. Especially if you're doing a night workout, I would say do up to 5 minutes of that after your workout so that you can start recovering right away, and then like get in your mode so you can get into sleep mode. Because like if you're doing a night workout, sometimes like people will come in and like say that it's like really hard to get to sleep at night, and it's because like you put a stress on your body, and you're especially if you're doing like high intensity like interval training, so like high intensity running, like you put a big stress on your body, and like you didn't do anything to help calm your body down, so like it's not ready to go to sleep very quickly. Other things like sleep is very important, so getting like the 7 to 8 hours of sleep, that's going to be the biggest thing. If people come in and say like I need a supplement or anything, I always say like, well, how's your sleep? Fix that first, and then if it's still not working, like then we'll look into more of the supplements. Going into that, like nutrition, so including like a well-balanced diet, like, and it doesn't have to be squeaky clean, but like if you can at least like 70 to 80% of the time like eat clean as you can, like well-balanced like meat, veggies, like it will help with a lot of recovery things as well. Supplements, I just take like, I have a good quality like fish oil, vitamin D, since like I'm not outside that much with my job. I take a vitamin D supplement, and then for me, since like I'm a bigger guy, like I need to supplement with protein just to meet my protein goals. But like most people, I think if you eat like enough, like you probably don't even need to supplement with protein. But I mean, if you're a bigger guy or gal, like you might need to. And then I also supplement with a green supplement just to help like meet my daily like micronutrients.
Is that like a probiotic?
Yeah, it is. So I take the one out of First Form. I forgot what it's called actually, but yeah, really good. They have probiotic in it. So I have seen like my digestion like help improve with like that. Not only like the greens, but the probiotics mixed in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Like, so, I guess real quick, so, do you think that, I've heard it said that, you know, there's not so much like overtraining, but under recovery. You think that that's true to a certain point then?
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think that's true. I mean, like, I go back and forth with that, but I do think like before we change your training schedule, let's change your recovery and see if it changes then like if still not getting better, then let's look at reducing like your training. But that's super hard. I think there are cases like overtraining that like
but your average Joe's probably not going to reach them.
Yeah.
Right? And like, if the problem would be the under recovery.
Yes, exactly.
For your average person.
Yes, for your average person. Yeah, I think like I think 1 in 5 people meet like just the weekly minimum amount of exercise. So I mean, like, yeah, most people it's going to be a recovery problem, not a workout problem.
Those same guys don't want to get too big lifting.
Yeah.
Exactly. I don't think you need to worry about it, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a big misconception too. Like people, like the New Year's resolutions, like people get frustrated and like it takes years to like build like quality muscle, and like people I think need to like take that in mind and like actually that it's consistent. It's like anything in life. It's to build something valuable and worthwhile. Like it takes years of hard work and consistent hard work. So yeah, like you said, it's more of a recovery problem than a workout problem most times.
Yeah, no kidding. Do you have anything you wanted to touch on?
No. I guess some other misconceptions, I guess, just in the like diet world, I guess the Whole30 or whatever, like you can go down anything. Because we'll get a few like nutrition questions here and there, and like my biggest thing is like, is it sustainable? So like Whole30 is great, but most of the time it's just torture.
What? I'm not familiar with
so that. Basically, like from what I haven't read into it like completely, but you eliminate like dairy and like all of like the common allergens from your diet, and basically all you're eating is meat, veggies, and maybe some more healthier like carbs. So yeah, that's great, but for a lot of people it's just like pure torture, and like they might feel better at the end of those 30 days, but then what? Like, is that sustainable for the long term? Like, so I think just having a more well-balanced diet that you can sustain and like still enjoy something. So like I said, like 70%, 78% of the time, like just eating healthy, and then like having room with that other 20 to 30% to eat things that you really enjoy, or some sweets or something. Like you'll be able to sustain that and you'll still be able to look really good.
Yeah, and that 80-20, that's for like looking at it as a week, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You can just take that, okay, I just need to be 80% good every day.
Yeah.
Then you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, but that's over a week.
Yeah.
Every day, like, I don't want you eating like a chocolate bar every single day thinking that like that's going to be your 20%. But over the week, like having some meals that, and like, there's still like healthy meals out there that are enjoyable too. Like I think that's another misconception that like clean eating has to be like broccoli and rice and dry chicken. Like it's not true. Like there's healthy meals, especially with like the internet. You can look up some healthy meals that taste amazing. It might take a little bit more time, but I mean, it is doable.
For sure. And one last thing quick. So how do you stay on top of everything that's new, like coming out as far as, chiropractic, wellness. How do you stay on top of all the good information?
Yeah, there's a few like chiropractic like groups and like pages like I follow on Instagram and Facebook. So I try to keep like my Instagram to be just people that like in the educational world, whether that be physical therapy, fitness, or chiropractic. Like I follow people that post like valuable content, so I can just keep on up from like a social media like daily, and then just reading. So like right now, there's a book that's called Rehab of the Spine. That's a new edition. Craig Liebison, who's out of LA, he's a chiropractor and he's worked with in the sports world a lot. So like reading his book coming up here soon, trying to always just have at least one book on hand that I'm reading. And then through like the social media platforms, I usually get like the research bits, stay on top of like the new research coming out and stuff like that. Not necessarily now, since I'm the first year out of school, I don't have as much like time or resources and money to take like as many seminars as I was taking in school. But in the future, I think I at least like to take at least like 3 seminars, I guess, a year. Keep on top of that. That's the biggest one where I learn the most, is just not only is it educational, but like you interact with your peers, and sometimes you learn more from just doing that than actually the actual seminar. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, definitely thanks a lot, and we'll have to get together again sometime soon.
Yeah, for sure.
All
yeah.
right.
Thank you.